Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of my podcast on healing work cultures. And today we're going to be talking about how not to attract individuals presenting dark personality traits. I think first we need to establish that an organization's culture transpires in everything that it does. It influences how employees and managers are hired, how they treat each other, and how business is conducted. But most importantly, I believe that organizational cultures determine who is hired at every level of the hierarchy. And we know there's a theory that studies person environment fit and suggests that individuals select careers or jobs and work environments that best align with their values, with their needs, and with their personality traits. In a previous episode, we saw that personality is quite stable over time and it depends on both nature and nurture. And what findings seem to indicate is that perceived fit between a job candidate's values and those that are presented are marketed or emphasized by the organization, it really influences attractiveness for the organization. So people who view the organization's culture as very similar to their own values will be more attracted to that type of work environment. So basically the image or the perception of the fit is extremely important when organizations want to attract new candidates. And that is why, and we're going to be talking about that a little later, it is important to understand that whatever image organizations decide to project on the outside to attract candidates will definitely have an impact on which candidates it will attract for different job openings. Now the question is, what type of organizational environments attract individuals who present dark personality traits? Well, we know that these individuals, the ones that exhibit the dark triad personalities, Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy, are attracted to power and money. Given their We know that they have a very low sense of ethics, a high propensity for risk taking and impulsivity, low scores on integrity and attention to detail. They will likely find it easier to operate in environments where rules are not clearly defined, and more importantly, where consequences for negative behavior are not enforced. In fast changing settings where management turnover is frequent, it becomes difficult, almost impossible, to monitor actions that employees and managers will take. And it makes it more difficult to make individuals, either it's employees or managers, accountable for their behaviors. And that in itself makes it a more attractive environment for individuals who present dark personality traits. Now, to achieve their goals of power, fame, and control, and money, these individuals they need to operate, as I was saying, in environments that will provide them with the freedom and the resources that they require. So here are a few examples of the elements that are present in those types of organizations that can be very attractive for individuals who present dark personalities. One, an organizational culture that prioritizes profit over employee well being. And this is not to say that organizations shouldn't aim for profit, it just, or performance, but not when it comes to the expense of employee well being. unstructured or politically influenced employee and management selection processes. And if there is already people in place that may have dark personality traits or that may make the environment toxic, then there's a very good chance that these individuals will hire people who are similar to them, who are similar in values. The third one would be leadership choices that overlook people oriented skills. So, looking only for task related skills without looking into the candidate's ability to be humble, to collaborate with others, to listen to others, to have or present empathy towards others. The fourth one would be an ineffective performance appraisal system. What I've realized or noticed running my research is that the higher you get on the organizational's hierarchy, the less the performance appraisal system is effective, even applied, I would say. And that is a problem because if you have leaders who are harmful for your organization or for employees, you will not be able to address the behavior unless you do have a system in place to see what they are doing and how they are leading. A lack of clear rules or laws regarding harassment, incivility, and other negative behavior. And I think we're going to be talking about it a little later on, but it's not just about having the rules, but it's also about applying them. An absence of anti fraud mechanisms, because we know that these individuals, to achieve what they want, oftentimes will resort to unethical behavior. Interpersonal and organizational fraud is one of them. No clear organizational rules, structures, or procedures to assist management and HR in managing conflicts or other employee related issues, or sometimes HR or and management have structures in place, but they're not given the power to apply them. Lack of organizational support for employee or managers wanting to report unethical behavior. An organizational culture that tolerates negative interpersonal conduct. And oftentimes, I would add top management or upper management that even models negative interpersonal conduct. A top down communication approach where employees lack the opportunity to share their views, which often results in diminished trust in management. And I've said it before, but there are a lot of organizations that believe that because they don't have any complaints on harassment or negative workplace behavior, that they are actually in an environment that is a very positive one, when in reality, employees are just afraid to bring problems forward because they don't trust the organization or upper management will support them and will protect them. Note that the first element that I mentioned on the list is organizational culture, and it does influence who gets hired. It influences communication style, how employees are treated, which interpersonal behaviors are acceptable or not, rules and regulation, and the degree to which these are enforced and followed. In another episode, I was talking about the fact that organizational cultures are created by upper management. They are the ones who shape the cultures, create it, and enable it. So, how can an organization reduce their risk of attracting candidates presenting dark personalities? Well, of course, creating a safe culture is a good start, a culture that includes the opposite of uh, what these individuals are looking for. So I would say a culture that has clear rules and accountability for unethical behavior, a well implemented zero tolerance policy for unethical interpersonal and organizational behavior, promotions based on merit, an effective performance appraisal system, A culture where empathy and well being is as important or maybe more important than performance and goals, because what we know in research is that employees who are evolving in a safe environment, who are well and healthy, are going to be more productive. But it starts with well being. Managers absolutely need to act as role models to ensure that they do not display or tolerate behaviors that are harmful to others. The problem is that organizations, although they say that they want to change their culture and create safe and positive workplaces, often only do the work on the surface. I call it surface change or face culture. Uh, it has the appearance of a safe culture, but it's all a facade, right? In research, when we create measures for concept, there's an aspect that is called face validity. It's based on a subjective judgment that the test is measuring what it intends to measure. However, it says nothing about actual statistical evidence of the validity of the test, or that the test actually measure what it is intended to measure. And I think a lot of organizations hire marketing consultants to improve their image as employers, portraying their culture as a safe culture. However, this often results in a surface level safe culture, or a fake safe culture, if you want. In many ways, I believe that fake safe cultures are even more dangerous than openly toxic ones, because they cause employees to lower their guards, to show vulnerability, which increases their risk of harm. To decrease the risk of attracting individuals presenting dark personalities, the organization's leaders must lead by example. If they promote a safe culture, if they do not tolerate and they act upon negative interpersonal or organizational behavior, then you will see a trigger down effect. But they need to be willing and have the courage to actually address toxic behavior effectively, and not ignore it or move the individual perpetrating those behaviors elsewhere in the organization as a way to deal with the problematic behavior, where when in fact it's actually spreading the negative behavior to other teams. um, and that means holding individuals and all leaders accountable. And also, it means enforcing sanctions for negative or unacceptable behavior. I don't support false advertising for organizations. What I mean is, for me, it's crucial for organizations not only to craft an image of a positive, healthy workplace culture to attract employees, but that has to be followed by actions. So the organization has to follow through on those promises. And if they fail to do so, any effort spent on attracting and hiring and training good candidates will be lost due to employee turnover. Ultimately, employees, they will realize that the values highlighted in job postings or during interviews are not a priority, and that despite the claims of caring for employees, the organizations lacks the courage and the integrity to act on those words. Actions speak louder than words. It's one of my favorite sayings, actually. And in this context of organizational cultures, I think to manage difficult personalities in the workplace, organizations must take tangible steps to foster a healthy and safe work environment for all. It is possible to change an organizational culture. A lot of people have been asking, how does it take time? It does take some time, but I think mostly and most importantly, it takes the right leaders in place. And it can only be done through genuine and sincere effort and commitment from upper management. If HR does not have the support of upper management, the change will not happen. Organizations that continue to promote performance and profit only cultures, they view employees as replaceable assets. They expect employees to go above and beyond, put in extra hours at the expense of their personal time, and tolerate or even encourage discrimination, harassment, and incivility as long as it is good for business. They also create cultures of competition rather than collaboration, and they are at a higher risk of attracting individuals who align with these values, with their values, actually. However, if they do hire individuals high on psychopathy, for example, or narcissism, who embody these same values, these companies and these leaders will soon realize that the grandiose promises, the belief that the end justifies the means, the aggressive sales tactics, and the lack of humility can lead to unethical practices, occupational fraud, harassment, and potentially causing far greater harm to the organization than any benefit that would be gained from hiring such individuals. These individuals, as leaders, demand loyalty while they are loyal to absolutely no one but themselves or their own egos. In the next episode, I will explain how individuals with dark personalities, such as narcissism and psychopathy, manage to enter organizations and climb to the top, causing immense harm along the way. But I will say this: to change an organizational culture, you absolutely need to hire the right leaders. And in order to do that, you have to actually understand that the leaders that are in place, their personal values will guide their decisions, will guide their actions and interactions with employees. And so when you're looking at hiring leaders, if you want to change and create a positive work culture, you absolutely have to look at those behaviors that I mentioned before, the positive values, the human values, and the importance of taking care of employees. So, thank you for taking the time to listen to my podcast and for spending time with me. I hope this helped. Until next time, take care of yourself and the people around you. Bye bye.